Hey everyone, my name is Maya. You can normally find my content on the channel Bespectacled, but today I'm here with you with the Literary Gladiators. And I'm very excited to be taking part in the Alphabet Read Challenge. On January 1st, 2024, I was assigned the letter I, and so I read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. Harpman was born in Belgium in the late 1920s. She and her family ended up fleeing to Casablanca with the invasion of the Nazis during World War II. She ended up back in France and became a novelist and a psychoanalyst. Much acclaimed. There was one copy at the local bookstore, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on it. One of my favorite things to do when I get a new book is read all of the quotes on the back that no one wants or cares about. And someone, French, compared Hartman's writing style to that of a feminine Kafka. I think they could have just left it at Kafka-esque and moved on, but it's okay. Her work also reminds me quite a bit of Margaret Atwood's, not just because of the feminist overtone, but also because of their writing style. It felt very meditative, it felt very doomsday with a streak of hope. We're never entirely in the dark. And in that similar vein, it reminded me of Suzanne Collins. I've been very Hunger Games heavy lately, not just because of the new movie, okay? I love dystopia. I grew up on dystopia. I was very much a part of the age group targeted by Divergent, The Hunger Games, a bunch of others. Red Queen comes to mind. This novel follows our main character, who is unnamed and is just referred to as the child, and she has grown up in this sort of isolated underground bunker cell with 39 other women. She is the youngest person in the group, the only one not to have a name. Everyone else is significantly older than her, and they live in this cage and are constantly monitored by male guards just on the outskirts. But they never interact outside of divvying up rations, knives to cut the food, some fabric scraps. It's just all bare essentials, and no human contact is made between the two groups. No physical contact is made at all. The women are not allowed to touch one another, comfort one another. They're not allowed to help kill one another because suicide becomes a very probable option in the minds of many of the women who are trapped in this horrible situation. And the guards are not allowed to touch them in turn. Instead, they use a whip, which is enough to dissuade the women. The sound of the whip, the threat of it, even though none of them have any memory of actually being hit. In fact, most of them have very little memory of anything at all leading up to their imprisonment. They know they had lives before, they know they had partners and husbands and families and lives and jobs, but they don't remember how they ended up in this bunker. This is the only life they've known. It is dismal, and they're just getting through the motions of every day. The one thing that seems to keep the women going is their shared storytelling ability. They are able to communicate with one another and reminisce and laugh over the smallest of things, not as a means of comedy, but really as a way to survive. And our main character just doesn't understand this. She has not grown up in the same world as these women. She does not feel like she is a part of their society or their understanding of what it is to be human, but she's fascinated by it. She's entranced, and she wants to connect with them in some way. This is a bit of a spoiler, so feel free to skip ahead if you're not interested in that. But one day, the guards come to deliver the food supplies, and a siren goes off, and that's never happened before. And these men who have watched over the women and remain so rigid and passive and incapable of compassion for people being treated like animals at a zoo, flee. They're gone in a matter of moments, and this group of women just got extremely lucky because this happened just as the guards were inserting a key into the door. The rest of the novel chronicles their escape, their survival, what brings them comfort, what gives them great despair, and just really explores what it means to be human. Interestingly, although this book is pretty absent of men and is therefore intentionally gendered in the title, I think that our main character could definitely be read through a queer studies perspective. She is probably definitely intersex just from the descriptions of her body and what she experiences and the feelings that she has towards sexuality and desire. She's probably also on the ace spectrum. And I think that she, as she explains in the book, she's always felt disconnected from the women in this way. While there's definitely an emphasis on being a woman and not being a man, more importantly, our character exists kind of in between and outside of those binaries, in both her life experiences and what she experiences physically, anatomically, emotionally, the way she processes thought. She's a very unique character, and again, I think who I would probably say she's most like is Katniss Everdeen. They've both dealt with very different traumas, but have reacted to the traumas in similar ways by fortifying themselves, but also finding beauty when they can in the people and world around them. I think environmentalism also lends itself as a topic at hand, not only in the landscape the women discover when they emerge from this bunker, but also in the bunker itself. How are we shaped and made and changed by the structures, systems, and physical walls around us? Another novel that this reminds me of, I'm so sorry to be drawing so many parallels, but hopefully you can come away with some recommendations, is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. There's a very similar sense of isolation among the women and in their world, on this planet in which they exist, but there's also such an emphasis on what it means to be human, and I'm a sucker for that. For example, there's a character named Rose, and she, as the women die over time, this spans an entire lifetime for our main character, as the women fall ill or take their fate into their own hands, Rose sings a hymn, a death song in Catholic, in Latin. And the women don't know Latin. Rose doesn't really know Latin very well, but they all join in because music is something they find comfort in. I know I already mentioned sexuality, but something else I wanted to bring up is a lot of these women, once they've escaped the bunkers and are allowed to touch each other physically and comfort one another, they take on chosen family roles, not only romantically, but also in terms of almost mother-daughter dynamics. There's a character named Anthea, who our protagonist, the child, becomes extremely close with and is able to consult and learn with and question. The women also take one another on as lovers, and not because they're each other's only option. They love each other. They find solace in one another and are able to find love in what is otherwise a really obsolete world. The last thing I want to touch on is the importance of education in this novel. If I had to guess when this took place, I would say it's like the mid-70s. Let me see if I can confirm that for you. I can't confirm that for you, so I'm gonna guess this takes place mid-70s. And many of the women in the bunker, all but one actually, are uneducated. And Thea, who I mentioned previously, is the only one who studied. She studied to be a nurse. The others were homemakers and much more revolved around the domestic sphere. Our character, the child, is so dissatisfied with the lack of knowledge she has about the world, and so any means of learning is like a great celebration for her. The discovery that she can invent worlds with her imagination is groundbreaking. The potential to do math and count time and measure time in heartbeats is something she finds just absolutely revolutionary. For a character who has never been able to, and never had the luxury or the privilege of learning how to do math, this ability to count her heartbeats and multiply that and gauge where the sun must be in the sky while they're living underground in the bunker throughout the day is just magical, and it's something that gives her a lot of hope. Reading also becomes something she's able to indulge in later on as she makes more discoveries along the way, and even the most banal of texts becomes a gateway for her, not to learn necessarily even just more about the written word and about human knowledge and the history of human knowledge, but to learn about what it meant to be human before the world ended up as it has. That's really cool, because, you know, that's what we do every day. This book asks a lot of questions about prisons, what it means to be in a prison, if life is in fact just a big prison that is illuminated in spots by sparks of human connection and artistry and love. I want to read you that quote because it meant a lot to me. Admittedly, we were all caught up in the same drama that was so powerful, so all-embracing that I was unaware of anything that wasn't related to it. But I had come to think that I was different. And now, racked with sobs, I was forced to acknowledge too late, much too late, that I too had loved, that I was capable of suffering, and that I was human after all. That's on page 4. I mean, come on. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. I hope that I've piqued your interest in Jacqueline Harpman and her work. And I'd also like to thank the Literary Gladiators for having me. This is my year of reading again. I definitely took a bit of a break the last 2 years, and I'm excited to be back in the fray. And with that, I will depart and say have a wonderful day. Bye.